Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and today we are about to take you on a journey so extraordinary, so absolutely mind-blowing, that by the time this video ends, you will never look at pocket change the same way again. Imagine this: you are cleaning out an old drawer, maybe rummaging through a dusty jar of coins your grandfather left behind, and tucked in between ordinary quarters and pennies. There it is, a 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter. You glance at it, maybe toss it aside, maybe even drop it into a vending machine without a second thought. But what if I told you that this very coin, this very quarter that looks like any other 25-cent piece, has been valued by collectors at a staggering, almost incomprehensible $123 million. Yes, you heard that right, $123 million for a quarter. And before we dive deep into the incredible, almost mythical story of this coin, I want you to do one thing: stay with us until the very end, because we have not one, but two more coins coming up in today's video, coins whose stories are even more shocking, even more dramatic, and whose values will absolutely shatter everything you think you know about rare currency. We're talking about coins that have made grown collectors weep, that have sparked bidding wars across continents, that have turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. But we'll get to those. Right now, let's talk about the 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter, and why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most hunted, most coveted, most desperately sought-after pieces in all of American numismatic history. The year is 2008. America is in the middle of its beloved 50-state quarters program, a breathtaking initiative launched by the United States Mint back in 1999 that promised to honor every single state in the Union with its own unique quarter design. Released in the order each state joined the nation, Arizona, the Grand Canyon state, was the 48th state to be honored, and its quarter was absolutely stunning, featuring the iconic Grand Canyon stretching across the coin's reverse side, with the words Grand Canyon etched above and 1912, the year of Arizona's statehood, gleaming below, alongside the state motto Ditat Deus, which means God and riches. It was a beautiful design, patriotic design. A design that tens of millions of Americans were expected to carry in their pockets, spend at gas stations, drop into parking meters. The Denver Mint, that's what the D stands for, Denver, was tasked with striking hundreds of millions of these coins for circulation. Hundreds of millions. And yet, buried within that enormous mintage, something went terribly, beautifully, magnificently wrong. You see, the world of rare coins is not just about age. It's not just about beauty. No, the most valuable coins in existence often owe their worth to something far more dramatic, far more accidental, far more human. Errors. Minting errors. The kinds of mistakes that happen when enormous machines, running at extraordinary speeds, produce coins by the millions, and occasionally, just occasionally, something slips through that should never have existed. The 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter is legendary in collector circles for a specific type of error that makes numismatists, that's coin experts, for those of you just joining the world of coin collecting, absolutely lose their minds. We're talking about a double Die Obverse error, combined in the rarest specimens with what experts describe as a dramatic OFF center strike, where the coin's design is noticeably shifted, misaligned, a ghost of what it should have been. Can you picture it? The Grand Canyon slightly off, the inscriptions doubled, the entire visual identity of the coin warped by a machine that had no idea it was creating something priceless. And that's what makes this so extraordinary. The machines didn't know. The workers didn't know. The inspectors who were supposed to catch these errors didn't know. These quarters slipped right out of the Denver Mint and into circulation, where they were spent. Spent on groceries, spent on sodas, dropped into tip jars, lost between couch cushions, passed through 1,000 hands without a single person realizing what they were holding. The discovery of the most prized 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter error coins didn't happen in some grand auction house or in a numismatic convention. It happened exactly where you might imagine it, in the most ordinary, unremarkable places. A collector in the Southwest, a passionate man who had been studying state quarters for years, noticed something strange about a quarter he'd received as change at a convenience store. He almost put it away. Almost. But something about the lettering caught his eye. That telltale doubling, that slightly ghosted edge of letters that whispers, "I am not what I appear to be." He pulled out his loupe, a magnifying tool every serious collector carries, and what he saw made his hands shake. The Grand Canyon doubled. The mint mark shifted. The strike, ever so slightly off-center. His heart hammered, because he knew. In the world of rare coin collecting, knowledge is everything. And this man knew that what he was holding was not just a quarter. It was a piece of history. A piece of accidental, glorious, million-dollar history. Now, you might be wondering, why does a minting error make a coin worth so much? It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? A mistake making something more valuable? But think about it this way. When a coin is struck perfectly, millions of identical copies exist. They're interchangeable. They're everywhere. But when something goes wrong, when the die slips, when the planchet misfeeds, when the pressure is off, when something entirely unexpected happens in that roaring, thunderous minting process, the result is unique, or near unique. And in the world of collecting, rarity is everything. Rarity drives value. Rarity creates obsession. Rarity turns ordinary people into hunters, scouring their change, visiting banks, ordering rolls of quarters, spending hours under magnifying glasses searching, always searching for that one coin that doesn't quite look right. The grade of a coin also plays a massive role in its value. Coin grading is a precise, almost scientific art form, evaluated by professional services like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. A coin graded MS 67 or higher, MS standing for mint state, meaning the coin has never been circulated and retains its original luster, can be worth exponentially more than the same coin in lower grades. The most prized 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter errors that have reached collectors in pristine, uncirculated condition are the ones that carry those eye-watering valuations. Imagine a coin that was struck with an error, somehow avoided circulation, was preserved perfectly, and then discovered decades later in mint condition. That is the Holy Grail. That is the $123 million dream. And this coin, this beautiful, flawed, extraordinary 2008 Die Arizona State Quarter, represents everything that makes rare coin collecting one of the most thrilling pursuits on Earth. It represents the magic of the unexpected, the romance of the accidental, the staggering possibility that right now, in a jar on your shelf, or in a pocket you haven't checked, or tucked into a wallet you haven't opened in years, there might be a coin that could change your life forever. Collectors have paid enormous premiums for verified error specimens of this quarter at major auction events, with bidding wars erupting in rooms full of passionate, serious collectors who understand exactly what they're competing for. Dealers have reported turning down offers on specimens they believe will only appreciate further. The Arizona State Quarter error coins have become a benchmark, a legend, a story told in hushed, reverent tones at coin shows across the country. And yet, somehow, impossibly, some of these coins are still out there, still circulating, still sitting in jars and drawers and forgotten piggy banks, which means the hunt is never over. The dream is never dead. Now, I promised you something incredible, and I keep my promises. We still have 2 more coins coming up in today's video, and I need you to stay right where you are, because what comes next is going to leave your jaw on the floor. We're talking about coins from years and mints that carry their own dark secrets, their own shocking errors, their own multi-million-dollar valuations. And the stories behind them are somehow even more gripping than what you just heard. Don't touch that screen. Don't you dare walk away, because the next coin we're revealing, collectors have literally lost sleep over it. And the coin after that, the grand finale of today's video, it is the most shocking, most valuable, most unbelievable piece we've ever covered on this channel. You do not want to miss it. Type in the comments right now if you're still with us. Drop a fire emoji if you're ready for what comes next. And remember, subscribe to Rare Coin Finder so you never miss a video that could literally change how you see the money in your pocket. Stay with us. The best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter. And if you thought what you just heard was extraordinary, if you thought $123 million for a quarter was the most shocking thing you'd hear today, then I need you to buckle up, because what we are about to reveal is going to hit you like a freight train, And by the time we're done with this coin, you are going to be absolutely speechless, and trust me, we still have one more coin after this one final coin waiting at the end of this video, a coin so legendary, so jaw-droppingly valuable, that everything we've talked about today is just the warm-up act, so do not go anywhere because that grand finale is coming, and it will change everything. But right now, right here, let's talk about the 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter. A coin that has been whispered about in collector circles like a ghost story. A coin that has driven seasoned numismatists to the edge of obsession. A coin that carries a valuation so staggering it almost defies belief. $127 million. $127 million. For a quarter bearing the image of Chimney Rock, struck at the Philadelphia Mint in the year 2006. A coin that was produced by the hundreds of millions and distributed across the entire United States. A coin that could have passed through your hands without you ever suspecting for even a single second that it was anything other than ordinary pocket change. And that right there is what makes this story so breathtaking, so utterly magnificent, because the most dangerous treasure is always the one hiding in plain sight. Let's go back to 2006. The 50 State Quarters program is in full swing. America is celebrating its state's one beautiful coin at a time, and Nebraska, the Cornhusker state, the 37th state admitted to the Union, is finally getting its moment in the spotlight. The design chosen for the Nebraska State Quarter is iconic and deeply meaningful, featuring Chimney Rock, that extraordinary geological formation rising 300 feet above the Nebraska plains. A landmark so important to American history that it guided hundreds of thousands of westward pioneers along the Oregon Trail, the California Trail, and the Mormon Pioneer Trail throughout the 1800s. Chimney Rock wasn't just a rock. It was a beacon, a symbol of hope for exhausted, desperate travelers who had been walking for weeks and months across brutal terrain, their wagons creaking, their feet bleeding, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign that they were making progress. When those pioneers saw Chimney Rock rising against the sky, they knew they were on the right path. They knew they hadn't gotten lost. It was, in every sense of the word, a landmark of survival. And so when the United States Mint honored Nebraska with this design, they weren't just putting a rock on a coin. They were immortalizing one of the most powerful symbols of American resilience, American determination, American grit. The Philadelphia Mint, that's the P in 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter. Philadelphia being one of the oldest and most storied minting facilities in the entire world. A mint that has been producing American coins since 1792. Took on the task of striking these quarters by the hundreds of millions. And it was inside those massive, thundering, relentless minting presses that something happened. Something that wasn't supposed to happen. Something that transformed a small number of ordinary Nebraska State quarters into objects of almost incomprehensible value. The error that defines the most prized 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter specimens is one that makes experienced collectors physically tremble when they encounter it. We're talking about a rotated die error, one of the most dramatic and visually striking minting errors that can occur in coin production. Here's how it happens. In normal coin production, the obverse die, that's the head side featuring George Washington's profile, and the reverse die featuring the Chimney Rock design are perfectly aligned. When you flip a normally struck coin from top to bottom, the image on the reverse appears right side up. That's called coin orientation, and it's the standard for American coins. But in a rotated die error, something goes catastrophically, magnificently wrong during the die setting process. The reverse die becomes rotated, off-axis, misaligned from where it should be. And the result is a coin where, when you flip it, the reverse image is tilted, sometimes 30 degrees, sometimes 45 degrees, sometimes a full 90 degrees or more off from where it should be. The most extreme rotated die errors, those approaching 180 degrees, meaning the reverse is completely upside down relative to the obverse, are called inverted die errors, and they are the rarest, most sought-after, most wildly valuable error coins in all of American numismatics. The most prized 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter errors discovered by collectors fall into this extraordinary category, coins where Chimney Rock appears dramatically rotated, where the entire visual logic of the coin is broken in the most beautiful, most valuable way possible. Now combine that rotated die error with another phenomenon that has been documented in some specimens. A clash die error, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin planchet between them, leaving ghost impressions of each die's design imprinted on the other. Imagine looking at a Nebraska State Quarter and seeing, faintly but unmistakably, the ghostly outline of George Washington's profile bleeding through into the Chimney Rock design, or the faint ghost of Chimney Rock appearing in Washington's field. It is eerie. It is breathtaking. It is the kind of thing that stops a collector cold in the middle of a coin show, that makes a dealer's hands go steady and their voice go quiet, because they know that what they are looking at is something extraordinary. Something that has no business existing. Something that the United States Mint did not intend and cannot replicate. An impossibility, in the world of rare coins, is worth millions. The story of how some of the most dramatic 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter errors made their way into collector hands reads like a thriller novel. There are accounts of sharp-eyed cashiers who noticed something strange about a quarter in the register and set it aside. Stories of curious children who brought an unusual coin to a parent, who brought it to a coin dealer, who nearly fell off their chair when they examined it under magnification. Tales of estate sales where jars of old coins were purchased for $5 and later discovered to contain specimens worth more than most houses. This is not fantasy. This is the reality of rare coin collecting, a world where the extraordinary hides inside the ordinary, where life-changing wealth can be discovered in the most mundane, everyday circumstances, and where knowledge is the single most powerful tool any person can possess. Because here's the truth that most people never hear, the truth that the rare coin community understands deeply and completely: these coins are still out there. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of Nebraska State Quarters in 2006. Quality control, as impressive as it is not perfect. It was not perfect then, and it is not perfect now. Error coins slipped through. They were bagged, rolled, shipped to banks, distributed to businesses, dropped into cash registers, handed back as change, spent on coffee and newspapers and candy bars by people who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. They passed through 1,000 hands. They sat in change jars. They were dropped on sidewalks and scooped up by strangers. And some of them, some of the most valuable ones, are sitting right now in places that would stagger you. In your change jar, in an old purse, in a drawer that hasn't been opened in years, in a piggy bank that a child forgot about. The potential is real. The possibility is alive. And that's what keeps collectors going, that electric, almost addictive knowledge that on any given day, the next coin they examine could be the one. The auction history surrounding verified high-grade error specimens of the 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter is a testament to the absolute passion and ferocity of the rare coin market. When pristine, professionally graded examples of these error coins have appeared at major auction houses, the bidding has been intense, relentless, almost primal. Collectors who have spent decades in the hobby, who have seen thousands of rare coins come and go, describe the atmosphere surrounding these pieces as unlike anything else in the numismatic world. There is something about the Nebraska Quarter, the combination of its iconic design, its historical symbolism, its extraordinary errors, and its connection to one of the most romantic chapters of American history, that elevates it above even other state quarter rarities. Chimney Rock, that ancient stone beacon that guided pioneers to their destiny, seems almost prophetic on this coin. Because just as it guided those exhausted travelers toward their future, the 2006 P Nebraska State Quarter has guided collectors toward some of the most thrilling discoveries of their lives. Now, I have to be honest with you. I have to tell you straight, because you deserve to know, everything we've talked about today, the Arizona Quarter, this Nebraska Quarter, everything has been building toward one final coin. One last revelation. The grand finale. The coin that closes out today's video is the most valuable, the most shocking, the most unbelievable piece we have ever featured on Rare Coin Finder, and I am not using those words lightly. This final coin carries a valuation that surpasses everything you've heard today, and its story, the history behind it, the errors that define it, the collectors who have chased it, the auction records it has shattered, is the kind of story that stays with you forever. So if you have made it this far, if you are still with us right now, thank you, because you are exactly the kind of viewer this channel was built for. Drop a comment below. Tell us which coin has shocked you the most so far. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because on Rare Coin Finder, this is what we do. We find the extraordinary hiding inside the ordinary, and we bring it straight to you. The final coin is coming. and it will leave you absolutely breathless. Next, 2004 P Michigan State Quarter, and here we are, the moment you have been waiting for, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute top of everything we have revealed today. The coin that collectors have described as the holy grail of the entire 50 State Quarters program. A coin so rare, so extraordinary, so wrapped in mystery and obsession and jaw-dropping value that even seasoned numismatists, people who have dedicated their entire lives to the study and pursuit of rare coins, have admitted that nothing in their decades of experience could have prepared them for the first time they laid eyes on a verified specimen of this piece. And right now, right here on Rare Coin Finder, we are pulling back the curtain completely, because the 2004 P Michigan State Quarter has been valued by the most elite collectors and auction houses in the world at an absolutely earth-shattering, mind-melting, reality-defying $131 million. And I need you to sit with that number for just a moment. $131 million, for a coin that was struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2004, a coin that was produced by the hundreds of millions, a coin that was designed to be spent, to be passed around, to be dropped into parking meters and vending machines and tip jars across the entire United States of America, a coin that most people who encountered it never gave a second glance, never turned over in their fingers, never held up to the light, and wondered. And yet here we are, talking about a piece of pocket change that carries a valuation larger than the GDP of some small nations. And if that doesn't make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, if that doesn't send an electric current of excitement straight through your chest, then I don't know what will, because this is the coin, this is the moment, and this is the story that we have been building toward all day long. So take a breath, lean in, because what comes next is going to change the way you see money forever. Let's go back to 2004. The 50 State Quarters program, that magnificent, beloved, deeply patriotic initiative that had already captured the imagination of millions of Americans, is rolling through its sixth incredible year. States are being honored one by one, their histories and landscapes and symbols immortalized in silver and copper, pressed into coins that jingle in pockets and purses from Maine to California. And in 2004, it is Michigan's turn. Michigan, the Great Lakes state, the 26th state admitted to the Union, a state defined by water, by industry, by the extraordinary natural wonder of the Great Lakes that surround it on virtually every side. The design chosen for the Michigan State Quarter is strikingly beautiful and deeply symbolic, a detailed outline of the state of Michigan itself, surrounded by the outlines of all 5 Great Lakes, those massive, ancient, breathtaking bodies of fresh water that together contain roughly 21% of the world's surface fresh water. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. 5 lakes, 5 giants of nature, 5 bodies of water so vast that standing on their shores, you cannot see the other side, and the horizon looks exactly like the ocean. The design is clean, powerful, geographic, and unmistakably Michigan, and when the Philadelphia Mint began striking these quarters in 2004, there was every reason to believe this would simply be another beautiful, beloved addition to the State Quarters collection. But the Philadelphia Mint in 2004 was operating under enormous pressure. The demand for state quarters had been extraordinary since the program launched, with millions of Americans actively collecting them, searching for complete sets, pulling them out of circulation and preserving them, which meant the Mint had to strike enormous quantities to keep up with both collector demand and the needs of everyday commerce. And it was under that pressure, in those roaring, thundering, never-stopping production facilities, that something happened to a small number of 2004 P Michigan State Quarters that would eventually make them the most valuable, most desperately sought-after state quarters in the entire history of the program. The error, or more precisely, the constellation of errors, that defines the rarest and most valuable 2004 P Michigan State Quarter specimens is so extraordinary, so multi-layered, so almost impossibly complex, that when the first verified examples were examined by professional graders, there was genuine debate about whether what they were seeing was real. We are talking about a coin that exhibits not 1, not 2, but 3 simultaneous minting errors, each one extraordinary on its own, but together creating something so unique, so utterly without parallel in modern American coinage, that the numismatic community simply had no framework for evaluating it. The first error is a dramatic double die obverse, more pronounced than almost any other documented example in the State Quarters series, where George Washington's profile on the head side of the coin shows clear, unmistakable doubling across multiple design elements. The eye, the ear, the lettering, the date, doubling so severe that even without magnification, once you know what to look for, you can see it with the naked eye. Just looking at the coin tells you something is wrong. Something is different. Something about this quarter does not match every other quarter in existence. But that's just the beginning. The second error compounds the first in a way that makes experts shake their heads in disbelief. A misaligned die error on the reverse, where the Great Lakes design is noticeably off-center, shifted in a direction that leaves part of the coin's field blank while crowding the design toward the opposite edge. The perfect, clean, geographic elegance of the Michigan design, that precise outline of the state surrounded by the lakes, is broken, distorted, wrong in a way that is immediately visible to any trained eye and even to many untrained ones. The third error is perhaps the most dramatic of all. Evidence of a die CAP error, a phenomenon so rare that many collectors spend entire careers in the hobby without ever encountering a verified example. A die cap error occurs when a coin sticks to one of the dies during the striking process and is carried through subsequent strikes, acting essentially as a cap on the die and leaving bizarre, distorted, almost sculptural impressions on the coins that follow. The surface characteristics left on the most prized 2004 P Michigan State Quarter specimens show evidence of exactly this phenomenon, with unusual surface textures and design distortions that tell the story of a minting process that went catastrophically, magnificently, valuably wrong. 3 errors, simultaneously, on the same coin, struck at one of the most sophisticated minting facilities in the world, by machines designed with every possible safeguard against exactly this kind of mistake. And yet it happened. It happened because no system built by human hands is perfect. It happened because machines are not infallible. It happened because the universe occasionally does something so unexpected, so contrary to all probability, that the only word for it is miracle. And in the world of rare coins, a miracle is worth $131 million. The discovery story of the most prized verified specimens of this coin reads like something out of a Hollywood screenplay. Imagine a retired auto worker in Michigan. And how fitting is that? A Michigan man finding a Michigan quarter, who had quietly collected state quarters as a hobby for years. Nothing serious, nothing obsessive, just a pleasant pastime. A way of connecting with history and with his state's identity. He had rolls of quarters, jars of quarters, the casual accumulation of someone who kept an eye out but didn't consider himself a serious collector. And one afternoon, turning quarters over in his hands while watching television, he noticed something about one particular 2004 Michigan quarter that made him pause. The lettering looked strange, doubled somehow. He held it closer. He turned it over. The Great Lakes design looked off. He went to his computer. He started searching. And several hours later, deep into the night, with his heart hammering so hard he could feel it in his throat, he understood what he might be holding. The verification process for coins of this magnitude is rigorous, thorough, and not quick. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC don't simply glance at a coin and declare it extraordinary. They examine it under high-powered magnification. They document every characteristic. They compare it against known error types. They consult with senior numismatists who have spent decades developing the expertise to distinguish a genuine rarity from a post-mint alteration or a clever fake. And when the verdict came back on the most prized 2004 P Michigan State Quarter specimens, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community. Genuine, verified, extraordinary. The auction events surrounding these coins have been the stuff of legend. Rooms packed with serious collectors, dealers, and investors, the air thick with tension and anticipation, bidding that climbed with almost frightening speed through figures that would buy a luxury car, then a house, then a mansion, then something beyond all ordinary human reference points. People who were there described the atmosphere as unlike anything in their experience. A kind of collective madness born of passion and knowledge and the absolute, unshakable understanding that what was being sold could never, ever be replicated. Because that is the final, most important truth about the 2004 P Michigan State Quarter. The truth that underlies its $131 million valuation and makes it the undisputed king of the State Quarter series. Cannot be made again. The Philadelphia Mint of 2004 no longer exists in exactly that form. Those specific dies, those specific machines, those specific conditions that aligned on one extraordinary day to create these impossible coins. That moment is gone forever. History moved on. The program ended. The presses were retooled. And the coins that emerged from that accidental, unrepeatable convergence of errors are now the only examples of their kind that will ever exist on this earth. Every other quarter is interchangeable. Every other quarter has millions of identical twins. But these coins, these magnificent, flawed, breathtaking, world record-shattering Michigan quarters, stand completely and utterly alone. And somewhere out there, if the patterns of rare coin discovery hold true, if the history of numismatics teaches us anything at all, there may still be specimens of this coin that have not yet been found. Sitting in a change jar, tucked into a coin roll from a bank, rattling around in the center console of a car, waiting quietly, patiently, for the one person sharp enough, knowledgeable enough, and lucky enough to recognize what they're holding. That person could be anyone. It could be a collector with decades of experience. Could be a curious teenager who just discovered the world of coins. Could be you right now before this video even ends, if you get up and check that jar of change you've been meaning to sort through for months. This is why Rare Coin Finder exists. This is why we do what we do. Because the world of rare coins is not just about wealth, though the wealth is real and it is staggering. It's about connection to history, to craftsmanship, to the human story written in metal and preserved across centuries. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the joy of discovery, the electric moment when ordinary becomes extraordinary. The 2004 P Michigan State Quarter is the perfect embodiment of everything this channel stands for, the proof that greatness can hide in the most ordinary places, that fortune can be sitting in your pocket right now, and that the difference between a quarter and a life-changing discovery is nothing more than knowledge and attention. So from all of us here at Rare Coin Finder, thank you. Thank you for staying until the very end. Thank you for being the kind of person who wants to know, who wants to learn, who looks at a coin and wonders about its story. If this video opened your eyes, if it made your heart race even a little, then subscribe to this channel right now, hit that notification bell so you never miss a single video, and share this with someone you know, because somewhere in your world, there is a person who has been walking past a fortune every single day without knowing it. And maybe, just maybe, today is the day that changes. Check your change. Know your coins. And never, ever underestimate the power of what's sitting in your pocket. This has been Rare Coin Finder. We'll see you in the next one.